In this video, we will have an overview of the Symphony eBay ERP application. First, we have to invoke the login page of the application. In the login window, enter the username, enter the password, then click on the login button. The navigator page appears. The navigator page, you can see there is a notification block in which all the notifications sent to you by the system are displayed. You can take actions if required. And by default, when you log in, the system enters into a business entity, which you can see by clicking on the current login button. The username is T Matthew, the employee name is Thambi Matthew, and the business entity currently selected is Vibgyor Trading. Click on OK. Now, if you want to change the business entity, you can click on the Change Entity button. Now, we are not changing the business entity. Click on OK. Now you can see the entire ERP application modules. There are so many modules: system administration, enterprise definitions, general ledger, payables, receivables, costing, inventory, purchasing, sales, human resources, manufacturing, and business intelligence. It is beyond the scope of this video to see all the features of all the modules of this application, but we will have a look at few features from each module. First, we will have a look at the journal entry feature of the general ledger module. I choose the journal entry screen. Now, journal entry screen, there is a master block and a detail block. In the master block, that is the header block, you have to select the journal category, that is manual. Journal source also manual, which defaults. The header, the period name, current period name is selected by default. Now you have to enter the lines. Open the enter line block. Now enter the line number 1, choose the account, enter the debit amount. I enter 100. Click on the next button. The entered line is shuttled to the lower block. Now you can enter the next line, line number 2. Choose the account. We select the account. Now enter the debit amount. I enter 100.01. Click on the next button. The second line also is shuttled to the lower block. Now this JV we create with just 2 lines. Save the journal. You got the message 3 records saved. And the journal number is auto created. 401 is the journal number. Now if you try to post this journal, the posting process will fail because the journal is not balanced. The total accounted debit is 100 and the total accounted credit is 100.01. The total debit and credit are not matching. That means it is an unbalanced journal. Let us try to post this journal, for which you choose actions post. You got a message, journal is not balanced. Now let us correct the journal. Bring the different line to the entry line block by clicking on the update icon. I change the value from 100.01 to 100. Click on next. Now save. You got the message, one record saved. Now try to post journal. Actions. Post. Journal posted successfully. Once when a journal is posted, the account balances will be updated. If you want to check the account balance from the journal window, choose More Account Balance. Enter the account code. Click on the button Balance. You can see the account balance, the balance block. This is the net balance. Apart from the net balance, it shows the begin balance debit, period credit, and total debit. Begin balance credit, period credit, and total credit. And subtracting the credit from debit is the net account balance. If you want to see the journal lines which created this balance, click on the journal lines button. These are the two journal lines which hit this account in this year. Close the account balance window. Close the journal window. There are so many other features in General Ledger. It is beyond the scope of this video to show all the features of Symphony eBay General Ledger. Next we will see a payable invoice. I open the payable invoice window. I query a payable invoice. As soon as you query the invoice, if there is a prepayment exists for the invoice, you will get a message, prepayment exists for the vendor and vendor address as shown in the screen. Click on OK. A PO matched invoice is visible on the screen. You can see the accounting by click on More View Accounting. This accounting is auto-created by the system. Similarly, you can see the taxes by invoking the tax window. These are the taxes applied on this invoice. Tax application is also done automatically. There are other features in Symphony Payables. We will next see the receivables invoice. I query an invoice. This invoice is auto-created from the sales order 901. We can see the auto-created accounting for this invoice. I invoke the accounting window. This accounting is auto-created when the sales order is invoiced. Similarly, we can see the taxes applied on this invoice by invoking the View Tax window. This is the View Tax window. This is the receivables invoice. I close the invoice window. Next we will see a purchase order. We will create a purchase order. Purchase order has a header and lines block. In the header, choose the vendor. When the vendor is selected, the address name is defaulted. The address name defaulting happens only if there is only one address for the selected vendor. If there are multiple addresses, you have to select the required address in the address field. After selecting the vendor and vendor address, you have to enter the lines for which open the enter line block. Enter the item code. I choose an item. Enter the quantity. Unit price default either from quotation or from previous purchases. There is a logic for the unit price defaulting. You can override the defaulted price if required. Next, enter the need by date. You can invoke the calendar by double clicking on any date field. Choose the need by date, click on the next button so that the entire line is shuttled to the lower block. Now save the purchase order. You got the message to record saved, one header record and one line record. The PO number is auto created when the PO is saved. The PO number is 1081. We can make attachment to this PO. Click on the attach toolbar option. Choose the attachment category. I select to vendor as the attachment category. Enter the description and then choose the file which you want to attach to this purchase order. Click on the button attach after selecting the file. You got the message file is attached successfully. Click on OK. Close the attachment window. Requery the PO. PO number is 1081. I enter 1081 in the search block and click on the search button. The PO is requeried. Now you can see a tick mark against the attachment toolbar option. Click on the attachment. You can see the attached file. If you want, you can download this file by clicking on the down arrow against the file name. Close the attachment window. Now we will try to approve this purchase order, for which click on Actions, Approve. The approval window shows the hierarchy of approvers associated with this PO approval. Against each approver, it shows a figure which is nothing but the approval limit. The first two users involved in the approval process does not have any limit. The third user has a limit of some 999 and the last one also has some approval limit value predefined. Now if you want to enter any message to the approvers, you can enter that in the message box. After entering any message required, click on the Initiate Approval button. You are getting a message mentioning to whom the approval process has sent the purchase order for approval. Click on OK. When the approver user logs in, he will get a message regarding the requirement of approval of this particular PO in the notification window, and by opening the notification he will be able to approve, reject or even return the PO back to the user for clarification. Now if you want to see in whose approval queue the PO is lying, choose More Approval Actions. You can see the requester is Thambi Matthew and the approver is Lalama Thambi, and there is nothing in the action field. That means the PO is awaiting approval from Lalama Thambi. Once if it is approved, the taken action, either approved or rejected or returned, will be displayed in the action field and also the action date. You can see any tax that is applied on this purchase order. These are the taxes applied on the purchase order. This tax application is done automatically by the system. Now there are so many features associated with this purchase order which is beyond the scope of this video to show all. So we close the purchase order window. Next we will have a look at the inventory. First we will see the global availability of inventory. I invoke the global availability form, enter the item code, click on search. You can see the supply demand position of the selected item in all warehouses of the current operating unit. These are the warehouses. The on hand, reservation, available. Available is nothing but on hand minus reservation. PO requisition quantity will be displayed if any approved PO requisition exists for the item. PO is the approved purchase order quantity. Transfer requisition is nothing but the warehouse transfer requisition quantity. In transit is the quantity that is transferred from one warehouse and not yet received in the target warehouse. In receiving and the sales demand. In inventory, you can perform various inventory transactions like warehouse transfers, miscellaneous receipts, miscellaneous issue, and so on. The transaction can be performed online or it can be performed with the help of a requisition. There are so many features associated with Symphony eBay inventory. Next, we will have a look at the costing module. We will see the cost history of an item. Enter the item code, click on the search button. You can see the transactions that recalculated the average cost, the transaction date, before transaction quantity, before transaction cost, then transaction quantity, transaction cost, after transaction quantity and after transaction cost. Also the transaction ID which recalculated the average costs. Next, we will have a look at the manufacturing modules. Manufacturing modules are having transactions in a different entity. So you have to change the business entity from Webgeo Trading to Webgeo Manufacturing. Click on OK. Now the business entity is changed. Now open the product definition window. The product definition window shows the product definition of a product. The product definition includes both the BOM and routing defined from one window. I query a product definition, enter the product code and click on the search button. You can see the operations associated with this product. Now in each operation you can see the number of components and the number of resources required for each operation. If you click on the number of components value of an operation, it will show you the actual components and the component quantities required for the operation. Similarly, if you click on the number of resource value, it will show you the actual resource and the resource hours required to perform the operation. The product definition can undergo an approval with a hierarchy of approvers if required. If you don't require a hierarchical approval, you can skip that. If you want to see the approval actions, choose more approval actions. You can see which are the people that approved this particular product definition and how many times on which date this is approved. Multiple approval will be required. If you make any change to an approved product definition, it will demand a reapproval. The cost roll-up process of the product definition. Open the cost roll-up window, enter the product code and then click on roll-up. This will do the complete cost roll-up. Now we will see an earlier cost roll-up performed. See roll-up progress. You can see the cost of the product at the extreme top. Then operation by operation, what will be the cost of the output of that operation. So the difference in cost you are seeing because of the difference in the unit of measure. In this case, the mango jam 100 grams bottle will have a cost of 1.66. If you open an operation, you can see the component associated with it and the component cost. Similarly, the resource associated with it and the resource cost. So the cost of a product will be the total component cost and the total resource cost. Similarly, you can do a product scaling, for which you open the scaling window, enter the scale quantity and choose action scale. Once after doing the scaling, you can see the scaling details in this window. You can see mango jam 100 grams, 10,000 each is required, for which for each operation what are the component requirement and the resource requirement. This is the scaling process. Next we will have a look at the planning module. You can choose a plan name and click on search. This is showing the requirements stated in a plan. You can run the planning engine by clicking action run planning, or you can see the output of the planning run last done from this window by choosing planning progress. Operation by operation, it is showing what are the material and resource requirement generated by the plan. This is the planning process. Next, we will have a look at the business intelligence. The business intelligence is a separate product, but it is incorporated into the ERP application. Now, users can develop report on their own by choosing the report builder, and the user created reports can be saved with a name. The saved reports you can run by choosing the run report option. Open the run report window, choose the required report name and click on run report. You can see the report output in this window. This is a quick overview of the entire ERP application. To understand the entire application, it may take days together, which is beyond the scope of this demo. So we finish here. I log out of the application, and thank you very much for your time.